Welcome to the LC Parent Podcast, where we get real about the struggles, victories, and laughs we share as parents.
All right. Thank you so much for being here with us on this show. I'm Allie Evans, and I worked at Life.Church for almost 20 years. That freaks me out. And all of that time, I've been involved in kids and student ministry. I'm super passionate about what it is that Life.Church believes about you and your family. Man, just know that our church is for your family. We want to equip you. We want to support you in any way that we can. We're passionate about supporting you as you raise your family. If you haven't yet joined our LC Parents Facebook group, I really encourage you to do that. It has become this great community of people from all of our locations. And then I know that there are people too from our church online community from around the globe. Actually, one of my favorite things about it is people sharing their victories and funny little videos of their kids and all the fun stuff that we as parents get to experience. But also, it is an incredible place to ask for prayer support, to look for resources. I love watching as you guys as parents in that community share books and blogs and quotes and scripture and reading plans from YouVersion that are helping you as you grow and strengthen your families. Just know too that whatever your family dynamic is, most of us are struggling with the same kinds of things. And no one is immune. Parenting is challenging, and that can oftentimes leave us feeling like a lack of confidence. Many parents feel alone during different seasons, and there's even shame, unfortunately, involved in parenting at times because we just feel like there's no way anyone else is experiencing what I'm experiencing. So here on the podcast, we hope to fill all that gap for you. We hope that you're going to hear from guests who bring you some confidence that help you feel more connected. Now, Life.Church has provided for years great teaching and small groups in our ministries called Life Kids and Switch. And we're super proud of the content that we put out there. We know that your children are learning about the truth of who God is and who they are because of Jesus. And we're super passionate about connecting them with an incredible small group leader, another caring adult that's speaking truth into the life of your kids. And then a great group of peers. In fact, that's what we're going to talk about today. We all want, as parents, for our children to be connected with a really strong peer group. It's incredibly important. You and I know that even as adults. What is it that Pastor Craig says? Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. That is so, so true. So on the podcast, we hope to address things that matter the most to you. And we're going to bring guests on the show that will help you feel more confident and connected to other parents because none of us are really fully prepared or equipped really outside of the love of Jesus and a great circle of friends to cry and laugh with. So we're in the middle of a series right now on the podcast where we're talking about how our faith, or should our faith, can it impact the hard stuff we deal with as parents, like discipline and behavior management and sibling rivalry. And gosh, we want our kids to value education. And what does that look? And also choosing good friends, back to that peer group. And my prayer is that each episode is going to leave you guys feeling a little bit more confident and strengthened in your parenting. Okay, now I'm excited for you guys to hear from a professional today. She is an absolute professional.
Oh, no.
I love having guests on that are experts in their field. And when I tell you she's a professional, I just mean that I met her children years ago and actually served in Connect, which is one of our Life Kids experience rooms, with two of her kids. And I knew when I met the kids that I needed to meet the parents because Cole and Riley are amazing. They are precious kids. I love them. I love serving with them. And they continue. That was years ago.
Oh,
and
they love
continue.
you too.
Yay, I just love them. So I want you guys to meet my friend, Deleise Clausen.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here with us. So tell us about you. Tell us about your family. And I'm going to share a little bit more about my experience with your kids, but tell a little bit.
Okay. Well, David and I have 4 kids. Garrett, Tyler, Riley, and Cole. Garrett and Tyler are married to Jenna and Shaylin. And Riley's in college and Cole's a senior and getting ready to go to college. So it all flies by so fast.
Now, I don't know Garrett as well. He's a little bit older.
He is 25.
Yes. And so he was kind of out of my experience in serving with your kids. But Cole and Riley specifically, when I met them, I mean, I don't know. I guess Cole was probably middle school. Riley was maybe late middle or early high school. And they led like adults. They understood the value of having an older person speaking truth and encouragement into the lives of the kids in Connect. I think they were leading groups of first and second graders or something. And those kids looked up to Cole and Riley. So I thought to myself, I've got to get to know these parents, and I want to know what the secret sauce is. Because not only that, but let me tell you something that's really interesting about your kids, is it felt like they were best friends. Is that true?
It is very true, yes.
That is so cool.
It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, so many of us really wrestle with helping our kids find the right friends.
Yes.
Now, not everyone has 4 or 5, or like Robin Meadows was on the show a couple of weeks ago.
There's
7
some choices
siblings.
in that house to be friends with.
Yeah. It's kind of like matchmaking. Like, I will produce your best friend.
Right.
Not everybody has that situation.
Right.
And man, as parents, we do, particularly when our kids are younger, we feel this, it's not a burden, but just sort of the opportunity to help our kids choose great friends, because we know, I mean, how many times have you heard a parent say, he was making good grades and he was really on track and he was super focused until he fell into the wrong crowd.
Right.
I mean, and I know you've been in such a great life group with a bunch of other incredible women, and over time we share those things, and so I'm assuming you've probably heard that as well as I have.
Oh, yes.
Oh, gosh. And great parents, right?
Of course, yeah.
But I think there's this thing that as our kids get older, we start to loosen up the reins, for lack of a better term.
We're tired. What? I don't know.
Yes, that's exactly it. We're tired, and we think, you know what? They've got it. They're in 7th, 8th grade, or whatever that looks like. They're good kids, and that's always the story.
Yes, that's always the beginning of it. You're right.
They were great. They felt confident. They were making good grades. They were star of the football team, whatever, fill in the blank, with whatever great attribute. They were really following Jesus closely until they met these friends.
Right.
And so anyway, we recognize how important it is to provide an environment and set the right example for our kids to know what it looks like to be a good friend.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what that looks like for you. How did your kid, they all just seem to run in great circles. So how did that happen?
Well, first of all, David and I were very intentional with how we raised them and how we did things, but we do not take credit for their success. They all make their own decisions, and they made good ones, and we don't take credit for their success, and we don't take blame for their failures.
That's a tweet right there.
We do our best, and then, all credit to them. They make their decisions. But as far as friends, we, from the beginning, knew what we wanted our family to be like. And so we started to foster that right in the beginning. And I wouldn't say that it was any big, huge things. It was just consistent, gradual things. David and I always feel like the dinner table was our big thing. We were consistent with dinner. No matter what, we had dinner together. And dinner was, nothing groundbreaking or original. No phones at the table. We all sit around and eat together. And that was a time when we all connected. We were careful we didn't use it as a time for discipline or talking about negative things. We just connected.
You know what? Stop right there, because that is so good. Because I think sometimes that can get muddled in together.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
This is the one time we're all sitting down.
It has to be intentional. Like, I've got you right here. I want to talk to you about why you haven't done all the things you're supposed to do today.
Yes, that is so good.
And so we wanted it to be a real environment of just like bonding. And so we made that very intentional the last 20, 25 years. And now still, when we get together for dinner, there's 9 of us usually. And we just hang out at the table for hours. It's a great time. So we started there. And that is just a place for all kinds of conversations to happen. And conversations, I think, are the thing that cause kids to start to make their decisions and to see the ways that they want to go. We did emphasize that our siblings are our best friends. Like, you're teaching your kids that if you can't treat your siblings well, then you don't need to go hang out with other people until you can figure that out. Because it's a hard relationship when you live with someone. And if you can master that, you can master the other things. So we were intentional about that. We weren't really set out to say, here's how to make friends, but I think that the relationships around the table, the relationships in our family, caused them to grow into knowing how to choose friends.
Right.
We were pretty intentional about talking about future spouses and how that choice goes about and what to look for and all that kind of thing. And I think that translated into friends. But I think that if you spend time when they're little doing these things, and it's nothing big. It's not like we're sitting down and having a big lesson. It's just, I think that consistency of that just grows into, they just know what they want.
Yeah. I think that's really good. I think what I'm hearing you say is that part of the process was teaching them to be a good friend.
Sure. Yes.
So that then you attract the kinds of people that you are.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So I love that. I think that's incredibly important. You know, we say that about the dating thing, about finding your spouse. Be the kind of person that you would want the person you want to be with, or whatever that is.
Yep.
You know what I mean, though?
Exactly.
Like, you've got to be that. You've
Yes.
got to be trustworthy. You've got to be reliable. You need to, do what you say you're going to do. All of those things are relevant. And too, we haven't really mentioned it specifically, and I think it probably goes without being said, but I want us to say it. And that is, part of this has to do with a consistent belief system.
Sure.
So what did that look like for your kids as far as choosing friends related to having kind of that shared, we love Jesus kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, one good thing about little kids is you get to kind of choose their friends. I mean, you have a lot of say in that. And if you don't like the way a relationship is going, you can just be like, well, no more play dates with them. We're not, we're done with that.
Right.
So when they get older, you don't get to do that anymore.
Right.
Or not as much. You can put your foot down, but it's not as easy. I think that being involved in church, and obviously putting your kid in a church group does not mean everyone's going to be perfect. I mean, none of our kids are perfect, but it does lend itself toward your kids getting mentorship from people who are Christ-like and being just in a Christian environment. I mean, that starts to build them. They listen to you. They listen more to other people a lot of times.
True?
So, yes.
We talk about that all the time, how you can tell your kid the same thing over and over and over again, but as soon as their switch group leader or their connect leader says it, it's like the gospel all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So, but that's good, right?
It is. It's so good.
Another thing too, because I know that shared faith piece is really important, and we do talk about that obviously as an undercurrent of all of our episodes on the podcast, but even for adults, it's incredibly important. Some of the best stories I've heard at Life.Church are about adult life groups forming, and then their children then become besties.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I mean, yes, my women's life group, the kids are in each other's weddings. I mean,
oh, wow.
Yeah. My second and one of his friends became friends from our life group, and they're best friends. I mean,
That's awesome.
Noah was the best man in Tyler's wedding.
Aw, that's so great.
It's fun, yeah.
We do have influence. I think that as parents, we think that at a certain point in that middle school range, we lose our influence. At the end of the day, it's not. And we can give it away. We can give away the influence to a group of friends or what have you. But really, we are the most influential voice in the life of our kids.
We are. And I think sometimes parents are afraid of, like, their kid's going to be annoyed with them and they don't want to make waves. And you still are. It's still our responsibility and our thing to steward, that they have good relationships and that we're still guiding them. And even the most important above all that is just praying about it, because you can do a lot of guiding when they're little and say, yes, no, we're not doing that. This is how we do it. And then when they start getting older, it's all the Holy Spirit. It's not us.
Yeah.
And so that is the ultimate answer to all the parenting things. We don't know what we're doing. Yeah. We don't.
Thank you for that.
It's just it's
true.
just a crapshoot. We don't know what we're doing.
Right.
But we do know how to pray, and God can speak to their hearts way better than we can.
That's so true.
Yes.
That's good. Now, I know something, too, about your house and what you and David have created in your home, but part of the influence that we have with our kids, again, we don't have to give away that influence. We can, without saying, here's who your friends need to be, or, because I think a lot of times parents are like, I don't know where my kid went. I just told them they could go with so-and-so, so they were gone until 2 a.m., and you feel out of control. But you and David did something. Your kids didn't probably necessarily know what you were doing, but you created an environment in your home so that kids wanted to come to you guys. Like, your house is the cool house to be at, right?
Yeah, that was important to us. We wanted kids to feel welcome there. And you can do that. I mean, that is as easy as going to Sam's and buying a bunch of junk. I mean, you have
true.
You have to have good food. You have to love them. I mean, which is so easy. And honestly, most of it is I clear out. Man, they can take over. I don't care. I don't care if you're loud. I don't care. I mean, if you're, screaming in the hot tub at 2 a.m., then I'm usually like, shut that down. But inside, I don't care. And it's just, I let them have reign. And so David and I will head to our bedroom, let them have the house, and then that is a comfortable place for them.
Right.
And they also know they're loved there. I mean, I've had my bed full of girls who come in there when I'm, when I've cleared out to give them space, because they want to talk and they have problems and they want to, they come around. And so just providing that I'll be here for you or I'll not be here for you, whichever you like. I just want you to, be here and enjoy.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. You're so right. I mean, just stock your refrigerator, stock your pantry, and all the kids will come.
Absolutely.
My sister, you've got the 4 kids, and I talk about the dynamic of when you don't have as many kids. My nephew is an only child, but their house never felt like he was an only child. She definitely had the stocked everything. She loves to have good snacks on hand. And my nephew just knew, and all of his friends knew it. It only took one time of coming over to know this is the fun house.
Yeah.
And not because she wanted to be their best friend they weren't getting away with anything.
Right.
It was a safe place.
Yes.
And honestly, isn't that really what kids are looking for anyway?
It is.
The kids are going to come where it feels safe. And, and two, the great news is you're within earshot of anything.
Yes.
So if anything were to be going on, you could easily walk into the room and say, hey, guys, who's ready for an ice cream sandwich? And sort of interrupt. Or, I know I am like you in this. We had kind of the fun house. All the girls came over to our house. And there were opportunities when I could step in. There was a little season where one of my girls had a group of friends, and they were kind of the mean girls. I'll be honest. And I can remember it was about a year in late middle school, and just walking into the room and going, guys, I hear what's happening, and I don't like it. I want everybody's phones.
You earned that.
Yes.
You earned that right to speak into them by being there for them in the first place.
That is so good. You're right. Yeah. Because I had the equity to do that.
Exactly.
And for them
that's what
to
you
listen.
want. I mean, you want them to hang out and be themselves, and then you also want to be able to speak into them when you need to or when you feel led to.
Yeah. I remember one time, Deleise, we all piled in the car, drove to a girl's house, knocked on the door. It was probably 9:30 p.m., on a weekend. And the mom opens the door, and I said, these girls have an apology to make. We went into the house. It was wonderful.
Aww.
And so the mom, I had to tell the mom, listen, I'm sorry, but here's what happened. I'm sorry to come over so late, but this needs to be done face to face.
That's cool.
And, I just think
that's a memory
it's
they'll always have too.
Yeah. Well, and I hope that it's always a good one. And particularly for the other girl who wound up, they wound up all being buddies, and they all graduated and, they were all great friends. But I think that's so much a part of it. Too, something we really haven't touched on is really setting the example and being a role model of what it looks like to be a good friend.
That is true.
So how, you mentioned your mom's group. How do you think that has influenced your kids and how they choose to be friends and how they have decided to be a friend?
Oh,
based on watching
I don't know.
you and David?
I think that they love these women so much, and these women love them. I mean, they've watched them grow up, and they've taught them in co-op, and they're very close to my kids. But yeah, they see how we raise each other up. I mean, they see we're for each other,
right? And
we are pointing each other toward Jesus when we're starting to turn the other way, which is about every other day. One of us is like, come on, come back. So I think that they see that and they value it. They also see, and Dave and I are best friends with our siblings, and I think that is, you're right. It's an example that they see of how friends treat friends.
Right. That's so good. I know that in the context of the life groups that I've been involved in, and I'm like you, my sister-in-law and my sister are my very best friends. And I know the phone conversations that the girls have probably overheard, and knowing that if the girls hear me running down my husband, which is what happens a lot of times, right, when people get on the phone with each other, and recognizing, that's not Christ-like. It's not, that doesn't honor my husband if I'm doing that. But knowing that that's the example that I'm setting for them about this is what it looks like when you get together with your girlfriends.
Yes.
Is you run each other's, husbands down or boyfriends or whatever the situation is, talk bad about your friends. And that's never the case. Those good friends are the ones who are going to draw you back to Jesus,
back to The good friends are the ones that you wouldn't even try that with, because you're like, they're just going to be mean if I say something. Yeah.
That's so good. That's when you go, they're good friends. I just can't even go there with her. She's going to shut me down. That's so true. That's real. But, I think that that's important for them to see us behaving in the way that we would hope that they would be as a friend and that they would choose. Something we haven't mentioned really is, we talk about it all the time in various episodes, but it's so important that our kids know their identity. Because I think so many times the falling in with the wrong crowd thing is because I'm on sand. If our kids are running around on the sand and shaky ground, all it takes is someone who looks like they're having way more fun.
Oh, yeah.
Or they're more independent, or whatever those things look like, and our kids can be off the rails.
Yeah, I think that makes me think back to just the consistency of from when they're little. And not that you can't start when they're older, it's going to be harder. But when they're little, just that gradual building of who you are. I mean, who God says you are. And that just really becomes ingrained in them through conversations. It's all conversations, I swear. Everything is about conversations.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just the consistency of it. And the goal is for them to be a good friend and for them to choose good friends. But also, sometimes they're going to have friends that aren't who you would choose for them to be with. But that needs to be okay. Like, you want to be to a point where, okay, that's good that they're an influence in their lives because they're strong enough to be that.
Right.
Without falling the other way.
That's right.
That's
I do.
the goal.
Yeah. And that's kind of the shaky ground too, because I can remember one of my girls saying, "But Mom, you always say that Jesus would fill in the blank. Jesus would be this girl's best friend. Jesus would be friends with this girl." And you mentioned before we started recording about the difference between intimacy in a friendship. And tell me, say that again.
Well, I was just saying that it's important for them to understand the difference in who is going to be their inner circle. Who's going to be pulling them up? Who are they going to show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you the trajectory of your life, how the saying goes. And so those people are different than the people that are you also want to be friends with, and you also want to influence, and you also want to hang out with and be a part of their life. There's a difference in the intimate friends and then just the friends that you want to be Jesus to.
That's so good. Because what we don't want to do is cut our kids off from the influence that God's giving them.
Yes.
And that's part of their faith journey is how can I be an example to others and love people? Because that's always the key. We always want our children and ourselves, we always want to be in a posture of love. And oftentimes that love needs to be directed at someone who we may not ever pull into our inner circle.
Right.
And that's even okay with our kids. But they need to be in a good place spiritually,
yes, they do.
Right?
And so that is the gradual consistency of conversations and, letting them know who they are in Christ. And then, like I said before, just praying about it. It's just, we always talk about praying for our kid's spouse. And I think a lot of people do that consistently, and we need to be doing that for their friends as well. Yeah. I found myself, especially when they went to college, really praying that because I didn't know any of these kids that they were going to be friends with at college. And I mean, God wants it too, and so just praying that their hearts are drawn to people who are for them and who love Jesus. It really is a good thing to do. And what better person to put in charge of that than God, because we can't do anything apart from Him, and we can't change hearts, and we can't pick friends, but we can pray that He'll guide their hearts the right way.
That's so good. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's like the most elementary thing is just pray about it. And it's so true, though.
It is so true.
Because the Holy Spirit wants that even more than we do,
of course.
For our kids. You're saying some words, and they all start with C, and I can't help it. But you've said over and over, consistency.
Okay, yeah.
So being consistent is incredibly important.
So important.
There are so many of our listeners who are currently uncomfortable even with praying. Like that's a new thing to have a conversation with God. Praying over someone, even their child, is super intimidating. So what does it look like for you and David over the years as you've prayed over your kids, like sitting on the edge of the bed, praying with them? What did that look like? And how can you coach maybe some of our parents who may be newer in that really want to begin that practice?
Oh, goodness. It's so different over the different seasons. When they're little, you're right in their bed, putting them to bed. And then as they get older, it's less of that. I mean, I feel like now it's more with my kids who are all adults now. I have 18 and up now. I can't believe that. It's more, if it's a big thing, I'm going to pray over you. And if they're needing comforting, I'm going to pray over you. But otherwise, it's just praying daily for their situations and their hearts and their futures. So I think it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
And it feels, I can understand that it feels intimidating to some people just to, like it has to be something big. It doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't have to be anything. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
It feels big because it's a conversation with the creator of the world, but it's not. He's, he's for you, and he's your friend, and he is for your kid, and it's just a conversation.
Yeah,
that's a conversation.
That's good. I can remember sending text prayers to my girls' friends.
That's good, yeah.
And particularly ones who I felt like might be a little bit challenging, or is this an inner circle type of friend? I particularly went out of my way to text them prayers. Like,
That's
hey,
good.
even though they weren't necessarily church-going kids, they may have thought I was really weird, but I just thought, you know what, I am genuinely praying for this kid.
Yes, yeah.
And so that's really kind of out there. So I'm not suggesting that everybody's going to want to run and go do that, but just having a posture of consistent prayer, I think is good. So consistency was one of the things you said, and there's lots of things we need to be consistent in. And then the conversation piece.
Yes.
So important that we're just having an ongoing...
It's a 20-year conversation.
Yes.
It starts so early, and you just keep talking and telling them, and they understand.
Right. And they love it.
They do.
They lean in, and
even
there are
in
times
the years when they act like they don't.
Yes.
They're still listening, and they,
yeah.
they probably will come back to agree with a lot of it. If you're being spirit-led,
right?
Then what's to argue? I mean, of course, when you're a teenager, you don't always see it or understand it. But
Mom,
it's fine.
Yeah.
they'll be adults. Like in a minute, they will be adults.
Yes. And I always tell people, my oldest is 26, and for sure she has come back to me and said, I can't believe that I, poo-pooed you all the time. Like, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so consistency, conversation, and community. I mean, that's what this whole podcast episode has been about
wrapped
today.
That up in the C's.
Yes, right.
Good job,
it just
Allie.
all landed there. But we really want our kids to have great community.
Yes.
And gosh, I don't know if I say this enough on the show, but we want you as parents to be in community. It's so important. You're not alone. God does not want you to have shame as it relates to your parenting challenges. He knows everything, and the people that are in your life, it's iron that sharpens iron.
And isn't it just so much when you have a parenting issue and you're dealing with it yourself, and then you share it with your friends, it suddenly is so light.
Yes.
And you get advice or you don't.
Yes.
It's just lighter. You need people to bounce ideas off of and to hear from.
Yes, that is so true. It's like as soon as it comes out of your mouth and there's light shed on it, Jesus can get a hold of it. And so I love that. So we really pray that you would, if your kids are, Life Kids age, which would be up to 5th grade, or Switch age, 6th to 12th grade, we pray that you will bring them to Life Kids and Switch so that they can be involved in a great group of kids. Again, just because our kids are in church doesn't mean they don't say things that are not right or do things that are not right, but at least they're all on the same trajectory. So let them be a part of that. And then for you as parents, go to your life group wall this weekend while you're at church and look for a life group to be a part of. If you're a part of our Church Online community, we hope that you would just the next time you're at Church Online, click on one of those moments that says, I want to be in a small group, and get involved in a life group because, gosh, it will make all the difference in the world. We need that sort of bolstering up. Deleise, thank you so much for being with us.
So much fun.
Yes.
Such an honor.
Again, love your kids, love your family, love what you and David are doing. And I'm just going to say it right here on the show, we hope to have Riley and David on.
Oh, that'll be fun.
There's just something really special about a dad-daughter relationship, and I'd love for them to come and share.
That would be fun.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being with us. We are definitely going to put some fun resources for you and a discussion guide to this episode in the show notes so that you and your life group can go through some of those questions after you've listened to this episode. If you haven't yet subscribed or shared the podcast, gosh, I would ask you to do that. If there's anything that has given you any encouragement or confidence or even a good laugh, I just pray that you would share this and subscribe so that you could be notified when a new episode drops. All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you this week at church.